I'd just like to introduce our final speaker. Robert joined Muscular Dystrophy UK in 2006 and took over as Chief Executive in 2010. Since taking over as CEO, MDUK have expanded their support for individuals and families with muscular dystrophy and are accelerating the pace of progress to treatments through their research and lobbying activities, including a very active parliamentary presence.
Super. Thank you very much for the introduction. Thank you so much for the invitation to speak today. Much appreciated. In terms of Virginia's presentation at the start of the afternoon, perhaps to declare an interest, we do receive funds from some pharma and biotech companies. Of our total income, it's less than 2%. Of the company I'm going to talk about, PTC Therapeutics, it's less than 1%. So 99% we're completely independent, which is how, in my view, it should be. I'm privileged to be the Chief Executive for this company, so delighted to share this presentation with you. As a tangential side point, just to follow on from the last presentation, after GSK found that the trial didn't meet the primary endpoints, they quite rightly withdrew from that study for Duchenne muscular dystrophy. The biotech that had started the study, was responsible for it, Presenza, continued to reanalyze the data. And recently, we've taken over by BioMarine, who have now filed for an FDA and EMA approval. They started the filing process. So the product there is not yet at the end of it, I suspect. Maybe another twist in the tail. I'm going to talk about our work with Translana. Forgive the language, the Blairite overtone of our journey. I realised afterwards that it was a bit Blairite, forgive me. Our charity was formed in 1959, so it had been quite a long way getting to the point we're at today, working with many other organisations, of course. And I see the work on Translana, the access to this treatment, as a milestone on the journey, and we've got some way to go yet. Quite some way, I think. I'm speaking today in a sense fresh from the front line is how it feels, because you'll hear from what I say, our work with other organisations in our space, in the neuromuscular, Duchenne muscular dystrophy field, is ongoing. And we'll have a key decision at the end of June. But let me take us through this quickly and share with you what we have. So this is a potential treatment with conditional license by the EMA, which targets nonsense mutations affecting some 11 to 13% of boys with Duchenne. So the total Duchenne population is about 2,500 in the UK. The license is for boys aged 5 and above who are still ambulant. So it's got a narrow window, and we estimate there are around 80 eligible boys, around 80. Only around 50 are known to the company at the moment. 25 on a phase 3 confirmatory study, and 25 are not receiving the treatment. And this is for a different audience, but it's for boys like Michael, little boy in Scotland. So we've been doing quite a bit of work as a charity on fast access to emerging drugs and new treatments. And we've been carrying this out for quite some time. And so we have a report through our very active parliamentary group, the APPG, which was published in September 2013. And we call that Access to High-Cost Emerging Drugs for Rare Diseases. And we were keen to focus on the regulatory and reimbursement stages, because we thought at that time, it's not rocket science, there would be some real problems there. So what we were doing at that stage was developing the case studies, finding the spokespersons who were raising these issues with the media. We were also reaching out to companies like PTC. We've got links right across the sector with whom we're working, including GSK, because although they've pulled out of the Duchenne space at the minute on this product they were dealing with, they are looking at other indications for muscle diseases, neuromuscular conditions. So whether it's GSK, Pfizer, Roche, Novartis, and so on, we are working with the companies. And we've also been doing a lot of work for some time with clinicians. So in our field, like the fields we've heard about, whether it's GoShare or other spaces, the specialist clinicians are few in number, aren't they? It's a feature of rare diseases. So the target audience to work with is therefore quite limited. And understandably, we think we know all the leading people who may be the prescribers and the people monitoring the effect of the drug on their patients. We've been doing work for some time with NHS commissioners, both past couple of years, but since I joined the charity, 2006, because we recognised then that for our space, neuromuscular conditions, these are rare diseases overlooked by commissioners, misunderstood, overlooked, ignored. And so we've been driving specialist healthcare too. So again, tangentially, if I was to summarise the three things the charity does, obviously we're funding research for treatments and cures, but we're driving access to specialist healthcare across the UK, so 4 different health economies, and supporting independence and full and rich quality of life for those living with the conditions. And we've been working with NICE and NHS England, including the clinical reference groups, and there are 3, because again it's a feature of the neuromuscular space, that was spread across 3 different clinical reference groups. But that's fine, we can work with that. And so we found ourselves in a really positive situation back in July last year, so almost 12 months ago, when, if I may say, and I hope PTC will forgive me, there was some surprise that their proposed treatment, Translana, received an approval, because it had been rejected earlier in the year on lack of robust clinical evidence of effectiveness. But by reanalysing the data and resubmitting, they succeeded in getting a conditional approval based on quite a small phase 2 study. But great news. So the first treatment with a conditional licence, but the first treatment to target the underlying genetic mutation causing Duchenne muscular dystrophy for a subset of the total Duchenne population. So a real landmark decision. It was not on the NICE radar for an HST evaluation. As we know, NICE have said they can cope with 3 HST evaluations per year at their current capacity. And at the same time, they're hoping to get 200 approved by 2020. Someone should think about maths, but not me, so I'm not a mathematician. And so NHS England agreed to consider access to the treatment by the end of 2014. And you'll know how this works as well as I do. We'll learn it as we went along. So it's been for our organisation a learning experience, this process. It's been developmental for us. And we will be, I hope, better equipped and better informed for the next one and the one beyond that comes through. And so if you love NHS jargon, this is the steps it went through. The clinical reference group and the programme of care board, and it should have been CPAG, and it should have gone to RDAC, and I've simplified this for this audience, for myself, and then through to SCOG, and then to the board for final approval. And this is a treatment that's available now through the EMA conditional licence to boys in France, Germany, they're receiving it now, Spain, and of course Greece, despite its problems, but there we are. Now, interestingly, a judicial review was brought by a patient organisation to challenge the process that had been followed at the programme of care. And that was at the end of November last year, so a threat of judicial review was brought on the grounds that the scoring or evaluation mechanism, if you've heard this before, bear with me, but on the grounds that the programme of care board, the famous POP board meeting, had used an evaluation process of scoring by all the people present that it was suggested was discriminatory against the rare disease treatments and conditions. And so the threat of judicial review, NHS England backed off at the sort of 11th hour on the deadline given and halted the process. And this was interesting. And there is an irony here because, well, I'll explain as I go, that the other organisation, I'll say it, why not? You probably know better than I do. It's the MPS Society. We all know it. So the MPS Society were concerned about how the proposed treatment for Morchio, dysphimosine, would be treated through the process. And therefore they brought the threat of judicial review against the scoring method. There were then weeks of confusion and uncertainty by NHS England, and at times, I have to say, some misinformation, where I think more junior NHS England staff were over-enthusiastic in trying to reassure the media that they were in control of this, and it was a fair system. And if there was a problem for patients, they could go down the IFR route. It was suggested in a press release from NHS England at one point. Well, that was not accurate, because the IFR route was not available. It's the cohort problem. And you'll be familiar with this, I guess, that for IFRs, once you have more than 5 patients applying for this, then it's ruled to be a cohort for whom you need to have an NHS policy, and the problem was the policy is stopped. So a 90-day consultation took place. We started in June 2015, and CPAG was then is due to meet on 24th, 25th June, I think is the deadline. Scotland will follow again. So we're back on track is my message here. We're back on track with this. But at the same time now, NICE has decided to undertake an NHSD appraisal. So that process has started too. And that's due to report February 15. So in this process, from July to date, we've had 30 PQs, a couple of Prime Minister's questions, 3 I think now. We've held debates in Parliament. We've had quite a large lobby event in January. We've raised it with Prime Minister at PMQ, as I say, and he met a group of boys with the condition in number 10 Downing Street. 25,000 signature petition to number 10 went in, which for the Duchenne families and parents involved was a huge achievement. Until Jeremy Clarkson was sacked and 1 million people signed a petition over a weekend, I think. So it makes you think about the value of petitions. I've met the Health Secretary with a mum to discuss her son's plight as a constituent, and he seemed to be moved, but hasn't moved since. We've met George Freeman several times. We've met George Freeman several times with PTC and with the MPS Society, honestly. And we've also met separately, our charity, with parents, with directors of NHS England, who have submitted letters from clinicians working in the Duchenne space, and also in an attempt to gather our own real-world data, patient stories, again, we've submitted into NHS England and to NICE, describing the impact of this condition. And the difficulty is, as you'll know, I guess, I'll share it with you, that the leading clinicians will tell us that by the age of 5 with Duchenne, a little boy will have lost 30% of muscle mass. By the age of 18, he'll have lost 90% of muscle mass. So every day is vital. And losing muscle mass, it's not just about ambulation, it's about every part of everyday living and function. So, let me try again. Okay, yeah. So there's a famous photo of little Archie Hill on the right front with his mum there, our APPG chair at the back, and Mr. Cameron. And Mr. Cameron referred again this week at PMQs, and we hijacked him again, to brave little Archie and the courage and bravery of the boys he met on this day. But we're still waiting for a decision. We're considering now what to do if it's a no from NHS England. Obviously there's a NICE evaluation route, but we hear, it's just been announced, that NICE have given an indication for a draft decision on Morchio, the MPS Society's drug Vimizim for Morchio, that they're minded not to approve that. Now that can be overturned. It's a draft decision, if you like. It's their recommendation that may be overturned. But that raises the alarm bells, doesn't it, about drugs that, rare disease drugs and price. I'm going to rattle on floor. I don't know how to go twice. I've got one more slide in front of us. So we will, if it's a no, we will obviously look to the NICE appraisal as a second way through. But I think this drug is not a drug that is hugely effective. It slows down deterioration. It doesn't cure, it doesn't halt progression, it doesn't halt it. It appears to slow down. It buys some time. Now, in terms of cost effectiveness, there may well be an issue with this drug. We will do all we can to put it through. There's nothing else today for Duchenne for this treatment. We will try to appeal the NHS decision and return to campaigns. If it's rejected, we'll use IFRs. New NHS policy last few days about, quote, a route for critically, clinically urgent need. So, in addition to IFR, a new policy for patients who have a critically, clinically urgent need. So we're looking at that. There are usual targets, media, families, politicians, regulators, and we'll use celebrity support to raise the profile. This is where my footballer should go. There he is. So if you're a Tottenham Hotspur fan, I apologise. It's Jack Wilshere, the Arsenal England footballer, who's thrown his personal weight behind the Access to Translana campaign, and he knows a little boy, Archie Hill, who his mum, Jack Wilshere's mum, saw Archie Hill on TV and said, you should get in touch with the charity and support Archie Hill. And Jack Wilshere is compassionate and caring. He has his own son, happens to be called Archie. That kind of connection. He's met the family many times now. What does this mean to little boys like Kirath? And again, by far the greatest emotional challenge is trying to offer support to Kirath as he travels on his journey of self-realisation. He's never going to be just one of the boys. his inability to keep up with his friends in the playground, or participate in soft play at parties, or even just climb the stairs at home to go to bed. These are all daily reminders of his growing physical weakness as his muscles continue to degenerate. Translated by a precious time for Kira just to be himself. I've got 2 sons. And Jessica, their mum, powerful. We saw her on Saturday too. She's an amazing woman. That concludes what I wanted to say. Thank you very much for your time with us. Thank you.